Welcome to Real Estate U with Lettiann.
Good morning, everyone. Here we are back at Real Estate U with Lettiann, and today we have Conrad Miller. Conrad Miller, thank you so much for being here today.
Well, Lettiann, thanks for having me. On this gray kind of morning, but it gave me something to get out of bed for this morning. So.
Well, yeehaw, that's good to know. So Conrad is the proprietor and owner, and it's probably another word for that, a Miller law firm. And a locally owned business here in Overland Park. And how long have you had Miller Law Firm?
I've been practicing. I got out of law school 35 years ago, so 1983. But I've been various iterations of Miller Law, and I worked for McDowell, Rice and Smith for a while, and was out on my own and did some business. But this probably about 18, 20 years. Has actually been, active practice, back in the active practice of law. So what I would call, active instead of just being a lawyer.
Certainly. And what are your specialties? Because you have some niche markets.
Well, I do. It's pretty general. My dad was an attorney in Kansas City, Kansas for 50 years, and he always, when I first got my license, he said, "Son, if somebody shows up with a traffic ticket and $100, you got yourself a client." And so I've always remembered that. It's like, yes, so I will do, traffic tickets. I do, some small criminal stuff, not much, but my main emphasis has been on real estate, litigation, closing, those types of things, and kind of a niche off of that is bankruptcy. Mm-hmm. I found a lot of my good real estate clients in 2007 and 2008 turned into my good bankruptcy clients in 2007, 2008.
Sadly,
which was a hard deal, but that's always been. It's always been an area that I've done. But McDowell, Rice and Smith, when I was with them, they did a lot of bankruptcy, so I kind of got into that area, and it changed a lot in 2005. They did a huge changeover and did a lot of different things. So actually, a lot of guys got out of it, but I stayed in. It's kind of a different practice. It people always say, "Oh, isn't that terrible? You deal with these people all the time." But actually,
you're helping them. I mean, you're providing a service.
Yeah, and I say people come in hopeless and leave with hope. They come in and they say, this is the worst thing it ever. And I can always relate a story to somebody that I can tell you this guy that a lot different. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, one of the big things people come in and they say, "Oh, God, it's going to ruin my credit. I'm never going to." It's like, well, kind of the credit got you into the trouble. These credit
Your
cards.
Your credit's already bad.
Yeah, and it's not going to get any better. In fact, one of the things I utilize in the practices we do. Well, first, everything's online now. I mean, you can't take a piece of paper down to the bankruptcy court and file something.
Can we back up just a hair?
Yeah.
So actually today we are talking about bankruptcy. How does one find them in that situation? And you mentioned credit. Do people just turn around and go, "Oh my goodness, I think I'm on the cusp of being bankrupt," which has got to be very scary? Or do they know that they're on a slippery slope and they're headed that way?
I think a lot of people generally will find out that they're on the slippery slope, and that's usually somebody there's a life change. Okay.
For example,
they lost their job. Their jobs, their income has gone down.
But they're still living the lifestyle.
They're still living the lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And people, people go, "Oh, these people live in these high lifestyles. How can they have 3 cars and blah blah blah?" I said, well, if you're making $500,000 a year, yeah, you can live that lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go from 500,000 to 50, even Dave Ramsey can't help you with that. I mean, there's nothing you can do. You just gotta, you try to save your house and do those things. So, but that's generally when they can find out that I'm borrowing on one credit card to pay another.
Rob Peter to pay Paul. I think there was a time in my life that I actually called you with that same question about credit cards. I found myself, which I knew the slope was there.
Yeah.
That was probably how many years ago? 15 years ago?
Probably. Yeah.
So we've known each other for that long, and you've been very helpful for me personally and in my business with a lot of things. So again, if you have questions for Conrad, I know we're live streaming now, but later this cast will not be live. But please reach out to Conrad. His contact information is here on the screen. How can people avoid it? Okay, let me just go back. A life-changing event. I get that.
Yeah.
What's one other way that someone can find themselves besides a major life-changing event?
Oh, just like they haven't paid their taxes in years or something like that. You got the old taxes.
Do people just not pay because they're like rebels?
I think
can't.
they just can't.
Okay.
And I like I say, I've been doing this for a long time, and I've had thousands of clients, and I've never had anyone come in and tell me, "Gosh, I just want to file bankruptcy." Nobody comes in and says, "I just want to file bankruptcy." That's usually their last option that they're looking at, and they would rather walk across hot coals than file, go. So nobody just wants to. It's just that they have to. And usually it's somebody, the credit cards, a lot of times people will be robbing Peter to pay Paul. They're trying to pay, they're living off their credit cards. They've got great credit. I mean, I've had guys come in the office with 800 credit scores.
And they
they say, they're just juggling, and the balls are just ready to pop. And you say, well, first thing, just got to quit paying your credit cards. Oh, it's going to ruin my credit. Well, yeah, that's right. And
if that's the worst thing that happens, that's okay because you can repair that later.
Yeah, I mean that's part of the recovery. You just got to get a fresh start. That's the whole thing. The whole thing about a bankruptcy is, get you fresh start, get you going again. So, old taxes, things like that. I have seen some gambling debts or gambling where they've gambled away but not a lot. People say, that really lead to bankruptcy. But I haven't seen a lot of that. Maybe, one or two a year where they just have lost. The guy had a bunch of money and they just lost it, and now they're getting ready to lose their house because they're trying, and
it's such a sad situation. But you're providing value, and they need direction, so they're reaching out to you because that's
exactly
that's your niche. So we're on the state line, of course, here in Kansas City metro area. So can you help those I know your office is in Overland Park in Kansas. Yeah. So someone in Missouri, it's a reciprocal. Yeah, but Missouri treats bankruptcy differently than Kansas, doesn't it?
Well, that's a good question.
Thank you.
Did you get that? I wrote that down for you. No, okay. I wanted to make sure you got those questions I sent you.
Came from right here.
Yes, we are literally here on the state line. Yeah. But yeah, I'm licensed in both Kansas and Missouri. Bankruptcy is a federal law, so the federal laws apply. And I don't know how far down the rabbit hole you want to get here, but
probably not too far.
Yeah.
Too far,
the big difference between the two is what you can keep, and
what they can't take.
What they can't take, and Kansas, quite frankly, is a lot better. You get to protect your house, more of your house, cars, things like that.
I've seen people even maybe make an attempt to move to Kansas
Yeah.
And foreseeing that the bankruptcy may be coming, because is it still true that Kansas doesn't take your house? Are we allowed to say that?
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, that's an exemption. If you do that to avoid creditors, however, you might
Find
remember the Koch brothers, but probably before your time, but that's what they did.
KOCH?
Yeah, they moved from. They had a big house on.
Can we be saying this?
Oh yeah, well, I mean, it's public law. It's public. I mean,
Okay.
it's not. There's no big secret.
Okay.
But they had a.
Do tell. What happened?
They had a house over on a big, and they sold it for $500,000.
What side of the state line?
They were on Missouri.
Okay.
They sold their house, bought one in Kansas.
So it sold
And
the
then
house for $500,000.
Bought a Kansas house for cash
Okay.
and exempted it.
And then what happened? Why is it such a big story?
Well, that was because that was deemed to be a fraud on the court.
Oh, you're not allowed to do that?
Yeah, you can.
But don't
Well,
people do that?
yeah.
I mean, wink, wink.
That's part of, and the other, one of the things when you come see me is I'm going to sit down with you and go, what do you have? Because there are certain exemptions. There's nothing wrong with planning to file bankruptcy.
And it's probably better to plan.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got a large savings account, well, that's not going to be exempt. Pay your house off. There are rules that they've put in, and this is both in Kansas and Missouri, where like you can't go when you file bankruptcy, you file it for everybody. I mean, if you owe your mom $10,000 on a note, mom's in the bankruptcy. You can't exclude people from it.
What if you forget someone by accident? I mean, that probably happens.
And it happens all the time.
Like Guido.
Yeah. Yikes.
Yeah.
You can't say that though.
You can't say. Oh yeah. Well, I'm Italian.
Yeah.
I can
Okay.
say
All
Guido.
right. You can say Guido. All right.
So.
All right. Yeah. If they. You can include them in later.
But that's a good thing, right? Because you're putting all your.
Yeah, I mean that's the kind of the idea behind it is that, hey, if you're going to file on this person, you're going to file on this person.
You can't just pick and choose.
Yeah, and if a lot of people say, well, I'm going to pay my credit card. I got this credit card, and it's I just got $1,000. I'm just going to pay that down and keep it. They don't let you do that. Keep the credit card.
Oh.
Because there's nothing on it.
After you file.
But the trustees, who are the guys that kind of oversee the bankruptcy, are pretty sharp. Pretty sharp characters.
Yeah.
And they're going to see that, and they're going to go back and get that back. Actually, they get it back from the creditor, and to pay debts. So.
How long does the process take? Let's say someone reaches out to you, it's inevitable, they're going to file, and they need to start the process. What happens next? And we have about 5 minutes left, and I'm hopeful you can come back to tell us how we can do the recovery.
Yeah.
But how long does the process take, like starting, and is it just a disaster for years, or?
No, it's the process actually. There's the requirements are pretty few.
Okay.
What we do is we pull a credit report, and it tells us all your debts, and we can download everything. So the answer is that I can do it in an afternoon.
Get it all prepared.
Yeah, I had somebody come in a couple weeks ago, and they were getting their paycheck garnished, and I said, well, when's your next pay? Well, Monday. It was Friday. I said, okay, sit down here. You got to get your this. We're gonna pull your credit card, and we filed her the same day. Not ideal. That's not. But it can be done to save your house, save your paycheck, those types of things. I've had them come in. Well, we're being foreclosed on Monday. They came in on Sunday, and we filed.
Why did they wait so long? Just
thinking, hoping something will happen. It's just, and they just don't know. It's like, well, if it's foreclosed, again, Kansas, Missouri, different deals. But if it's foreclosed, you're done. So you got to file before the foreclosure sale.
You do that on a Sunday, really?
Yeah,
do you get off the golf course for that, or off the ski slopes for that?
yeah. And she came over, or they came over, and we did it. Got the
That's a good attorney, folks. That's a real good attorney.
Because they had
Time is of the essence.
Yeah, and they lose their house at 9:00 on Monday.
Oh,
So, but generally, if somebody comes into me and they contact me and say, hey, I'm having trouble, I'll look at the circumstance, say, okay, we don't want to file until we have to, because we want to make sure that you don't have a savings account or you don't have some non-exempt asset that sitting out there that the trustee can get and sell. So you have some time. I've got clients that wait 2 years, to file. But once you file, it goes pretty quick. It's about 30 days. You see the trustee, and then it's like 4 months you're done.
So doesn't it sound worse? Do you find that when people reach out to you and they're like the B word?
Yeah.
But then you explain the process to them, and it's going to be okay. It'll work out. We'll get this taken care of. Did you find that they're feeling a little bit better about that?
Oh yeah. Because usually, that's just a huge weight on their shoulders.
It's a life changing event.
It's just, and you're just like, and when you say, well, I tell them, once you file, you're bulletproof, None of your creditors
are come get me.
No, none of your creditors are going to come after you. They can't call you. They can't sue you. They can't do anything. Mm-hmm. So that makes them. They feel a lot better, and and it's kind of on the road to recovery at that point.
Sure.
They're relieved. Oh my God! I don't have to see if I can find that $300 or $400 to pay the all these credit cards, so I usually say, well, you need to quit paying your credit cards and start paying me. So,
put the money where
it was going to do some good.
That's right.
So
we just have about 2 minutes left, but I have a little bit of a sidebar. So foreclosed upon homes, do they ever end up on the courthouse steps? Did banks just say, I'm done with this and
yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of times, most in Missouri especially, you can go down and,
So it's not just tax delinquent courthouse. It's also foreclosed, going to be sold on the courthouse
and if
steps.
you can find them at the courthouse steps, that's a pretty good deal.
And they do that sale annually?
That's the sheriff's sale. That's the tax sale, but if I foreclose on it, again, Missouri, Kansas, different. But I'm actually foreclosing. I do that also. Foreclosing on one, and we just you just go down to the courthouse steps and you take bids. And if nobody shows up, then the bank bids and they get the property back, and then they sell it. So
is that the process? The bank, if it's foreclosed upon, the bank actually takes it to the courthouse steps. If nobody shows up, they buy it back.
Yeah, and in Missouri it's a trustee, and in Kansas it's the sheriff.
So that sale could be once a week, once a month.
They do them all the time.
Okay.
Out, both counties will do them. The big sales are the tax sales.
Okay.
That's when you see them, the tents down there and the people
camping
all milling around.
Yeah.
So
I want to experience that.
Yeah.
This is great. We're just about out of time, Conrad. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Would you kindly come back and tell us how people can recover from bankruptcy experience?
Be happy to.
Awesome. Conrad Miller, Miller Law Firm, again, a locally owned business here in Overland Park. And we'll see you again soon.